The gut is far more than a simple digestive tube. It is the body's central control hub for immunity, metabolism, and inflammation. Every cell in the body, every hormone, every organ system depends on the gut's ability to properly digest, absorb, and communicate with the immune and nervous systems. Inside the gut wall lives a vast ecosystem of microbes, trillions of bacteria, fungi, and viruses that form what we call the microbiome. When this ecosystem is in balance, it acts like a finely tuned orchestra, producing vitamins, regulating blood sugar, training immune cells, and keeping inflammation in check. However, the modern lifestyle has disrupted this delicate system. Diets high in processed foods, sugars, and seed oils, combined with antibiotics, medications like NSAIDs, alcohol, environmental toxins, and chronic stress, all inflict damage on the intestinal lining. Over time, these factors weaken the tight junctions that hold the gut wall together. The result is what we call leaky gut, a state where the intestinal barrier becomes porous, allowing undigested food particles, toxins, and harmful microbes to slip into the bloodstream. When that happens, the immune system goes into overdrive. It recognizes these foreign invaders as threats, triggering inflammation throughout the body. This chronic immune activation can manifest as fatigue, joint pain, autoimmune issues, brain fog, skin problems, and difficulty losing weight. Essentially, the body becomes stuck in a state of defense rather than repair. The good news is that the gut can heal. By repairing the intestinal lining and restoring microbial diversity, we can lower inflammation, rebalance the immune system, and reset metabolism. This is not a quick fix, but it is the foundation of genuine health and longevity, addressing the root cause rather than merely suppressing symptoms. The gut lining is one of the body's most remarkable structures, a single layer of cells separating the external world of the digestive tract from the internal bloodstream. This barrier is not a wall of bricks, but a living membrane made up of enterocytes, which are tightly linked together by structures called tight junctions. These junctions act like intelligent gates, allowing nutrients and water to pass through while keeping out bacteria, toxins, and undigested food particles. When functioning properly, this barrier maintains a state of controlled permeability, ensuring that only what is beneficial enters the body's internal environment. Supporting this barrier is the microbiome, a vast community of bacteria, viruses, and fungi that coat the gut lining. These microbes perform countless protective roles. They produce short-chain fatty acids like butyrate that nourish the gut cells, regulate immune function, and compete with harmful pathogens for space and nutrients. The microbiome and gut lining operate as an integrated ecosystem. When one becomes disturbed, the other follows. Problems begin when this equilibrium is disrupted. Antibiotics, for instance, not only kill infection, causing bacteria, but also decimate beneficial gut flora, reducing microbial diversity. Alcohol and refined sugars feed the growth of yeast and pathogenic bacteria, creating an imbalance known as dysbiosis. Gluten, found in wheat and many processed foods, can trigger the release of zonulin, a molecule that loosens the tight junctions and increases intestinal permeability. Chronic stress further compounds the problem by diverting blood flow away from the gut, reducing the production of digestive enzymes and altering the composition of the microbiome. Add to this the daily exposure to pesticides, seed oils, emulsifiers, and environmental toxins, and you have a perfect storm for barrier breakdown. As the gut becomes leaky, large molecules that should remain confined within the intestines begin to slip into the bloodstream. The immune system identifies these as foreign invaders and mounts an inflammatory response. This process can go on quietly for years, producing low-grade systemic inflammation, the silent driver behind many chronic diseases. The liver becomes overburdened trying to neutralize the influx of endotoxins. The immune system remains in constant alert mode, releasing cytokines that disrupt hormonal signaling, energy production, and insulin sensitivity. The result is a cascade of symptoms that often seem unrelated to gut health. Persistent fatigue arises because the body's energy resources are redirected toward managing inflammation rather than cellular repair. Joint pain and muscle stiffness appear as inflammatory compounds circulate through the bloodstream. Autoimmune conditions can develop when the immune system begins confusing its own tissues with foreign proteins leaking from the gut. In the brain, inflammatory molecules interfere with neurotransmitters, leading to anxiety, depression, and brain fog. Even weight gain can be traced back to leaky gut. Inflammation makes insulin less effective, increases cortisol levels, and encourages the storage of visceral fat. What makes this condition particularly insidious is that it often develops silently. Many people experience digestive discomfort, food sensitivities, or mild bloating and dismiss these as minor issues, unaware that the intestinal lining has been compromised. Over years, this unnoticed permeability drives chronic inflammation that slowly erodes health from within. Traditional medicine frequently treats the downstream effects, fatigue, skin rashes, autoimmune markers, or metabolic syndrome without addressing the root cause in the gut. Scientific research now confirms what clinicians like Dr. Myhill have observed for decades: the gut is the starting point for most chronic illness. By identifying and repairing intestinal permeability, it's possible to calm the immune system, restore metabolic balance, and reverse the trajectory of disease. The gut is not isolated from the rest of the body. It communicates constantly with the brain, the immune system, and the endocrine network. A damaged gut lining sends distress signals throughout the system, while a healed one provides the foundation for regeneration. When the intestinal barrier is intact and the microbiome thrives, inflammation settles, energy returns, and the body's natural healing mechanisms switch back on. This is why understanding and repairing leaky gut is not just about improving digestion. It's about protecting the entire organism from the chronic inflammatory cycle that underlies fatigue, pain, and premature aging. Over 70% of the immune system resides in the gut, concentrated in what is known as the gut-associated lymphoid tissue, or GALE. This intricate network of immune cells lines the intestinal wall, standing guard at the body's largest interface with the external world. Every bite of food, every swallowed microbe, and every chemical additive is inspected by this vast immune surveillance system. In many ways, the gut is the training ground of immunity, where the body learns to distinguish between friend and foe. When the microbiome is balanced and diverse, it maintains a calm and intelligent immune response. Beneficial bacteria communicate directly with immune cells through chemical messengers such as short-chain fatty acids, particularly bitterate and propionate. These compounds nourish the gut lining and instruct regulatory T cells, the immune system's peacekeepers, to prevent excessive inflammation. This process ensures that the immune system acts with precision, targeting genuine threats like pathogens while tolerating harmless antigens such as food proteins or environmental particles. However, when this balance breaks down, the consequences ripple throughout the entire immune network. Dysbiosis, or microbial imbalance, often develops from repeated antibiotic use, processed diets, alcohol, chronic stress, or environmental toxins. In this disrupted state, harmful bacteria and yeast species begin to dominate, producing endotoxins such as lipopolysaccharides, LPS, that irritate the gut lining. As the barrier becomes more permeable, these microbial fragments leak into circulation, activating immune cells that are meant to stay dormant. The body perceives a constant invasion, keeping the immune system in a perpetual state of alert. Over time, this hyperactivation causes confusion in immune signaling. The body begins to attack not only invading microbes, but also its own tissues, a process central to many autoimmune conditions such as rheumatoid arthritis, Hashimoto's thyroiditis, and multiple sclerosis. At the same time, this immune chaos can make the body overact to harmless stimuli, leading to allergies, food sensitivities, and chronic inflammation that feels like low-grade flu. Instead of a well-coordinated defense system, the immune response becomes like an orchestra without a conductor, where each section plays out of tune and at the wrong tempo. Restoring balance to the gut microbiome can reverse this pattern. When beneficial bacteria are reintroduced and nourished through diet and lifestyle changes, they begin to reeducate the immune system. Short-chain fatty acids once again strengthen the tight junctions of the intestinal wall, reducing the influx of toxins and calming systemic inflammation. Commensal microbes also modulate cytokine production, the chemical signals that dictate whether the body should inflame or repair. Studies show that individuals with diverse microbiomes produce more anti-inflammatory cytokines, allowing immune cells to resolve inflammation efficiently rather than sustain it. This process of immune retraining is not instantaneous. The immune system, after years of being overstimulated, needs time to regain discernment. As the gut flora stabilizes, inflammatory markers like C-reactive protein and interleukin-6 often decrease. People experience fewer infections, less fatigue, and improved resilience to stress. Autoimmune symptoms can subside as the immune system shifts from attack mode to regulation mode. The body learns once again to differentiate between danger and safety, between what belongs and what does not. What is often misunderstood is that immune strength does not come from external boosters, supplements, or stimulants. It comes from balance. The overuse of so-called immune enhancers can, in some cases, worsen inflammation if the gut remains damaged. True immune resilience begins with a stable internal environment where the gut barrier is intact and the microbial community is thriving. The microbiome functions like a living organ, one that continuously educates and fine-tunes immune responses based on what it encounters daily. When this internal ecosystem is healthy, the immune system becomes calm, intelligent, and adaptive. It can respond rapidly to infection without overreacting or becoming destructive. Healing the gut, therefore, is not just a digestive intervention, it is an immunological recalibration. It transforms the immune system from a panicked, overworked army into a well-trained defense force that protects the body efficiently and peacefully. The path to lower inflammation and stronger immunity does not lie in more external stimulation, but in restoring harmony within the gut itself, where the body's defenses are built and maintained every single day. The relationship between the gut and metabolism is one of the most profound yet overlooked aspects of human physiology. Every calorie we eat, every molecule of energy we produce, and every gram of fat we store is influenced by the microbial ecosystem living within our intestines. Far from being passive passengers, these microbes act as metabolic partners, breaking down food components, generating signaling molecules, and directly influencing how efficiently our cells produce energy. A healthy microbiome converts dietary fiber and resistant starches into short-chain fatty acids such as acetate, propionate, and butyrate. These compounds are more than fuel for the gut lining. They are biochemical messengers that communicate with distant organs, including the liver, muscles, and brain. Butyrate in particular plays a key role in feeding the mitochondria, the tiny powerhouses inside each cell responsible for generating ATP, our body's energy currency. When butyrate levels are high, mitochondrial efficiency improves, oxidative stress decreases, and cells can burn fuel cleanly. This metabolic harmony allows the body to transition smoothly between carbohydrate and fat metabolism, a state known as metabolic flexibility. However, when the microbiome becomes imbalanced, a condition known as dysbiosis, this metabolic communication breaks down. Pathogenic bacteria and yeast begin producing toxins and inflammatory molecules instead of beneficial short-chain fatty acids. The gut lining becomes more permeable, allowing these toxic byproducts to enter circulation. The immune system responds with inflammation, and inflammatory cytokines begin to interfere with mitochondrial function, slowing energy production and increasing oxidative stress. The result is a pervasive sense of fatigue, poor recovery, and metabolic sluggishness. At the same time, dysbiosis alters how the body handles calories. Studies show that certain microbial patterns extract more energy from the same amount of food, predisposing individuals to weight gain even when caloric intake is moderate. Chronic inflammation caused by a leaky gut also disrupts insulin signaling, leading to elevated blood sugar, increased insulin levels, and a shift toward fat storage, particularly around the abdomen. This is why many people find themselves unable to lose weight despite exercising or restricting calories. The underlying issue is not simply energy balance, but metabolic signaling distorted by gut dysfunction. Dr. Myhill's metabolic medicine framework views the mitochondria as the central hub of health and disease. When the mitochondria cannot efficiently convert nutrients into energy, the body compensates by lowering metabolic rate and storing more fat. The gut directly influences mitochondrial health through both nutrient supply and inflammatory control. A dysbiotic gut depletes B vitamins, magnesium, and coenzyme Q10, all essential cofactors for mitochondrial energy production. Simultaneously, inflammatory molecules such as LPS damage mitochondrial membranes and enzymes, leading to inefficient ATP generation and a buildup of metabolic waste products. This is why chronic fatigue, brain fog, and poor exercise tolerance are so common in those with gut dysfunction. Restoring microbial balance reverses this process at its root. When beneficial bacteria once again dominate, they re-establish normal fermentation of dietary fibers, increasing butyrate production and supporting mitochondrial respiration. Inflammation decreases, allowing insulin receptors to regain sensitivity. Blood sugar stabilizes, cravings diminish, and the body naturally begins to favor fat oxidation over fat storage. Instead of running on unstable bursts of glucose, energy becomes sustained and clean. This metabolic renewal extends to hormonal balance as well. A healthy microbiome supports the gut. Liver acts in metabolizing hormones like estrogen and thyroid hormones, preventing the imbalances that can slow metabolism and promote weight gain. It also reduces cortisol overproduction, a key stress hormone that, when elevated chronically, drives both inflammation and fat accumulation. In this way, gut repair restores communication not only between microbes and mitochondria, but across the entire hormonal network that governs metabolism. When the gut ecosystem is restored, the body regains access to its innate energy systems. People often notice clearer thinking, more consistent energy, and gradual fat loss without the struggle of deprivation. This is not achieved through external stimulants or extreme diets, but through re-establishing the internal ecology that allows the mitochondria to function optimally. True metabolic health is not about forcing the body to burn more calories, but enabling it to produce and use energy efficiently. Repairing the gut, therefore, is not just a digestive strategy. It is the foundation of metabolic recovery. It corrects the biochemical signals that determine whether energy is created or wasted, whether calories are stored or burned, and whether the body thrives or merely survives. By healing the gut lining and restoring microbial harmony, the mitochondria once again operate at full capacity, fueling the body with vitality, resilience, and sustainable metabolic balance. When the intestinal barrier becomes compromised, the body's biochemistry begins to shift in ways that ripple throughout every organ system. The gut lining is designed to act as a selective filter, allowing nutrients, minerals, and water to pass through while keeping bacteria, toxins, and undigested food out of the bloodstream. In a healthy state, this barrier maintains a quiet, controlled relationship between the gut contents and the immune system. But once the tight junctions between gut cells loosen, a steady stream of unwanted particles begins to leak into circulation. This marks the beginning of a biochemical cascade that drives chronic inflammation, oxidative stress, and accelerated aging. The first step in this process involves bacterial fragments called lipopolysaccharides, or LPS, which come from the outer membranes of certain gut bacteria. When these molecules cross into the bloodstream, they are recognized by the immune system as foreign invaders. Immune cells respond by releasing pro-inflammatory cytokines, chemical messengers that mobilize the body's defenses. In the short term, this is a protective mechanism. However, when the gut remains leaky, the immune system is constantly triggered and cytokine production becomes chronic. Molecules like interleukin-6, tumor necrosis factor alpha, and C-reactive protein circulate continuously, keeping the body in a low-grade state of inflammation that silently erodes cellular health. Over time, this persistent inflammation generates oxidative stress, an imbalance between free radicals and the antioxidants that neutralize them. Free radicals are unstable molecules that damage DNA, proteins, and cell membranes. Mitochondria, which are responsible for producing energy, are particularly vulnerable to this oxidative assault. As mitochondrial function declines, energy output drops and fatigue sets in. The body's ability to repair tissues slows, leading to muscle weakness, slower recovery, and early signs of aging such as wrinkles, joint stiffness, and cognitive decline. Clinically, this process explains why so many people with gut issues experience symptoms that seem unrelated to digestion. Brain fog develops because inflammatory cytokines and LPS can cross the blood-brain barrier, disrupting neurotransmitter balance and mitochondrial activity in brain cells. The result is poor concentration, memory lapses, and low mood. In the joints, inflammation triggers swelling and pain, often mistaken for simple wear and tear when in fact it is a systemic response driven by immune activation. In metabolic tissues, inflammation interferes with insulin signaling, leading to higher blood sugar, weight gain, and eventually insulin resistance. Even cardiovascular health is affected. LPS and cytokines promote endothelial dysfunction, making blood vessels less elastic and more prone to plaque buildup. This chronic inflammatory state becomes self-perpetuating. Inflammation further damages the gut lining, allowing even more toxins to leak through, creating a vicious feedback loop. The immune system, designed for short bursts of action, becomes exhausted. The liver works overtime to clear inflammatory byproducts, leading to congestion and reduced detoxification efficiency. The net effect is accelerated biological aging. Cells wear out faster, repair mechanisms falter, and the risk of chronic diseases like heart disease, diabetes, and neurodegeneration increases. Reversing this cascade begins where it started in the gut by removing inflammatory triggers such as processed foods, refined sugars, alcohol, and gluten. The constant assault on the intestinal barrier can be reduced. Introducing prebiotic fibers, fermented foods, and polyphenol-rich plants feeds beneficial microbes that produce short-chain fatty acids, especially butyrate. Butyrate not only nourishes the cells of the gut lining, but also signals the immune system to tone down its inflammatory response. As the barrier heals, fewer toxins and bacterial fragments enter the bloodstream, giving the immune system a chance to rest. With inflammation reduced, oxidative stress begins to subside. Mitochondria can once again produce energy efficiently, restoring vitality and endurance. Hormonal balance improves as insulin sensitivity returns and cortisol levels normalize. People often notice clearer thinking, better sleep, and a sense of mental calm that reflects a quieter immune system. At the biochemical level, DNA damage slows, telomere length is preserved, and cellular resilience improves, all markers associated with longevity. Healing the gut transforms the body's internal chemistry from one of defense and destruction to one of repair and regeneration. Each system that was once under strain, the brain, the joints, the liver, the metabolism, begins to recover as the inflammatory load lifts. This shift is not cosmetic or superficial. It is a restoration of biological function at the deepest level. When the gut barrier is sealed and the microbiome is balanced, the body returns to a state of energetic efficiency and self-healing. Chronic inflammation fades, vitality returns, and the biochemical signature of aging slows. True longevity is not achieved by fighting disease from the outside, but by maintaining internal harmony, and that harmony begins in the gut. Repairing the gut requires a deliberate and comprehensive strategy, one that addresses both the physical lining of the intestines and the ecosystem of microbes that live within it. In Dr. Myhill's clinical approach, gut healing begins by removing what harms, replenishing what's missing, and restoring what protects. This 360-degree process creates the right biochemical and environmental conditions for the gut to rebuild itself and for the immune system to return to calm balance. The first step is removal. The intestinal lining cannot heal if it is under constant assault from irritants and toxins. Foods such as refined sugar, alcohol, gluten, industrial seed oils, and ultra-processed products inflame the gut wall and disrupt microbial balance. Sugar feeds pathogenic bacteria and yeast, crowding out beneficial species. Gluten increases zonulin production, loosening the tight junctions that keep the gut barrier intact. Alcohol strips the protective mucus layer and damages enterocytes directly, while emulsifiers and additives in packaged foods disturb the microbiome structure. Eliminating these irritants for several weeks allows the intestinal lining to begin closing its microscopic gaps and reduces the immune system's constant activation. Once the damaging inputs are removed, the next step is replenishment. The gut lining is made of rapidly dividing cells that require specific nutrients to regenerate. Zinc is one of the most important as it supports tissue repair and tight junction integrity. L-glutamine serves as the primary fuel source for enterocytes and promotes mucosal healing. Omega-3 fatty acids from fish oil or flaxseed help calm inflammation at the cellular level, while vitamin D strengthens immune tolerance and supports microbial diversity. Magnesium, vitamin A, and antioxidants from colorful vegetables further assist in repairing oxidative damage and supporting enzyme activity in the gut wall. In Dr. Myhill's practice, restoring these nutrients forms the cornerstone of what she calls biochemical housekeeping, giving the body the raw materials it needs to rebuild itself properly. Rinoculation follows naturally. A healthy microbiome cannot simply be swallowed in capsule form. It must be cultivated through consistent exposure to beneficial microbes and the fibers they thrive on. Fermented foods such as sauerkraut, kefir, kimchi, and unsweetened yogurt provide live bacteria that help repopulate the gut with lactobacillus and bifidobacterium species. However, probiotics alone are not enough. They need nourishment in the form of prebiotic fibers. Foods like onions, leeks, garlic, asparagus, green bananas, and cooked and cooled potatoes contain resistant starches that feed beneficial bacteria, encouraging them to multiply and produce short-chain fatty acids such as butyrate. Over time, this combination of probiotic and prebiotic inputs rebuilds the microbial ecosystem and restores the chemical environment necessary for intestinal resilience. Lifestyle choices are equally vital in supporting this repair process. The gut operates according to circadian rhythms, responding to signals from light, food, and sleep. Regular sleep patterns and morning exposure to natural light help synchronize these rhythms, allowing for proper digestion and repair cycles. Chronic sleep deprivation, on the other hand, disrupts microbial diversity and raises cortisol levels, which thin the gut lining. Stress management through meditation, deep breathing, or time in nature lowers sympathetic nervous system activity, improving blood flow to the intestines and enhancing nutrient absorption. Gentle movement, such as walking or yoga, stimulates peristalsis and prevents bacterial overgrowth in the small intestine. Intermittent or time-restricted fasting can also play a powerful role in gut healing. Periods without food give the digestive system a to rest and trigger a process known as autophagy, cellular self-cleaning that removes damaged cells and proteins from the gut lining. Short daily fasts of 12 to 16 hours combined with nutrient-dense meals during eating windows support both microbiome diversity and mitochondrial function. Equally important is minimizing exposure to medications and toxins that disrupt gut function. Whenever possible, avoid unnecessary antibiotics, non-steroidal anti-inflammatory drugs, and proton pump inhibitors, as all can weaken the mucosal barrier and alter the microbiome. Hydration with filtered water supports the detoxification pathways and maintains the mucus layer that protects gut cells from irritation. As these interventions accumulate, the gut gradually shifts from a state of inflammation and imbalance to one of stability and strength. Energy improves as nutrient absorption normalizes. Inflammation quiets as immune triggers are reduced. White regulation becomes effortless as metabolic flexibility returns. People often notice a lighter mood, clearer thinking, and fewer cravings, signs that the gut-brain axis has recalibrated. Gut repair is not a quick fix, but a process of restoration. By removing irritants, replenishing essential nutrients, rebuilding microbial diversity, and aligning lifestyle habits with the body's natural rhythms, the intestines can fully heal. The result is more than digestive comfort. It is a foundation of long-term resilience. When the gut is healthy, inflammation subsides, immunity stabilizes, metabolism hums efficiently, and the body's innate vitality re-emerges. This integrated approach reaffirms that true healing does not come from isolated interventions, but from re-establishing harmony between biology, lifestyle, and the microbial world that sustains us. When the gut barrier is restored and the microbiome returns to balance, the transformation that follows is nothing short of systemic. The body, which has been locked in survival mode, constantly fighting inflammation, infections, and fatigue, finally has the freedom to shift into healing and repair. This transition is not mystical, it is deeply biological. The gut is the command center for the immune system, the energy network, and even the endocrine system. Once its structure and signaling are restored, every other system begins to work with renewed clarity and efficiency. One of the first changes people notice is an improvement in immune resilience. A healthy gut no longer leaks bacterial fragments and toxins into the bloodstream, meaning the immune system is no longer overwhelmed or hypervigilant. Instead of reacting to every stimulus, it becomes precise and intelligent, responding only to genuine threats. Autoimmune flare-ups often subside, allergies diminish, and infections become less frequent. This shift reflects the immune system's return to balance, no longer on constant alert, but calmly maintaining surveillance. The immune cells trained within the gut-associated lymphoid tissue can now operate from a place of discernment rather than panic. Energy follows quickly behind. When inflammation subsides, the mitochondria, the body's energy generators, can operate at full efficiency. They are no longer suffocated by oxidative stress or deprived of essential nutrients. The result is steady, sustainable energy rather than the highs and crashes caused by unstable blood sugar or adrenal fatigue. Many people describe it as a quiet strength, the kind of energy that endures throughout the day without dependence on caffeine or constant snacking. This energetic stability allows the body to divert resources away from defense and back toward regeneration, supporting better recovery, stronger muscles, and sharper cognition. Cognitive clarity is another hallmark of a healed gut. The gut-brain axis operates as a two-way communication highway, sending neurotransmitters, hormones, and immune signals that influence mood, focus, and motivation. When the gut is inflamed, these signals become distorted, leading to anxiety, low mood, and brain fog. As inflammation eases and the microbiome produces more beneficial compounds like serotonin precursors and short-chain fatty acids, mental clarity returns. The brain becomes more resilient to stress, concentration improves, and emotional balance is restored. This is the biological foundation of mental well-being. A calm, nourished gut supports a calm, focused mind. Hormonal balance is another key benefit of this whole body renewal. Chronic inflammation and gut dysbiosis interfere with hormone metabolism and receptor sensitivity, especially for thyroid hormones, cortisol, and sex hormones such as estrogen and testosterone. As the gut heals, the liver and microbiome can properly metabolize hormones again, restoring their natural rhythms. Insulin sensitivity improves, making blood sugar control easier and fat storage less likely. Cortisol production normalizes, reducing stress, related weight gain, and fatigue. This recalibration of hormones contributes to stable mood, improved metabolism, and more restorative sleep, all indicators of systemic harmony. The effects of a healed gut also reach deep into the aging process itself. Chronic inflammation and oxidative stress are the biochemical drivers of premature aging, damaging DNA, shortening telomeres, and impairing cellular repair. When the gut barrier is sealed and the flow of inflammatory molecules into the bloodstream is stopped, oxidative damage decreases, mitochondria regain their efficiency, antioxidant systems recover, and cellular turnover becomes more controlled. Skin texture improves, cognitive decline slows, and muscle strength is easier to maintain. These are outward reflections of an internal shift, the body moving from degeneration to renewal. This transformation is cumulative and self-sustaining. A balanced microbiome continues to produce metabolites that protect the gut wall, regulate immunity, and enhance metabolic flexibility. Each system supports the others in a positive feedback loop. Better digestion leads to better nutrient absorption, which fuels more energy, which allows deeper healing. The body begins to operate with the efficiency it was designed for, no longer weighed down by chronic inflammation or toxic overload. Longevity in this context is not merely about living longer, but about maintaining vitality, clarity, and function throughout life. Healing the gut is not a quick fix or a passing health trend. It is the foundational work that underpins every aspect of wellness. It requires patience, consistency, and respect for the body's natural pace of repair. But the reward is extraordinary, a body that feels lighter, clearer, stronger, and calmer. Every cell receives the nutrients and signals it needs to thrive. Every organ functions in harmony with the others. The process of gut repair becomes the process of reclaiming full biological potential. When the gut is healthy, the entire body follows, resilient, energized, and built for lifelong vitality.